Wellington Rocks. I'm Amy Eastwood, and today I am at Valhalla at the Oceans Collective gig, and I am going to be speaking to Spook The Horses about their gear. And this promises to be quite a long video because they have a lot of it. So stay tuned, gearheads, we're going to have some fun. Callum.
What's up?
Hey. So let's have a look at your guitar.
Cool. So yeah, this is it's a Fender Jazzmaster. It's a Squire, but it's a Fender nonetheless, I guess. It's a baritone. It's a 30-inch scale neck, which is much longer and much bigger than I actually need. The lowest we play in Spook is drop B, and with a neck like this, like literally any low tuning is attainable. So playing something this gigantic in B is kind of excessive really, but it just makes it really comfortable. It means the guitar doesn't feel like it's down-tuned. But when I first got it, it had enormous strings on it, so it still didn't feel right, and I've since realised that since the neck is so long, you don't need big fat strings to compensate for the low tuning, so you can just put super thin strings on there. So as soon as I put just 10 to 52s on it, it started playing a lot softer and nicer. And it's all stock. I just put different coloured pickup covers on it just because I was a little bit insecure about the fact that it was a Squire, and I just wanted to make it look kind of less immediately identifiable from a distance. And I just thought the black looked cooler than the stock white that it came with. But other than that, it's just bog standard.
It's a very nice guitar.
Very nice.
I think the thing, Squire, because the J Maskus has a very good reputation.
Yeah,
That's a Squire. So
Yeah.
do you think Squire's it's not as bad as people think?
Definitely, yeah. I've played Squires that I've thought have felt worse than some Mexican Fenders.
Yeah.
I've played various kinds of Fenders, Mexicans, Japanese and stuff, and they can be quite hit and miss.
Yeah.
And I don't know, a lot of the time I feel like just the bad rap that they get is pretty undeserved. Most Squires you can pick up will be pretty playable and pretty nice. This thing here I had zero issues with. It's done the job.
I guess it's just with any guitar, no matter what brand it is, try it before you buy it.
Totally, yeah, for sure. I got the opportunity to just play it a little bit and it's sweet. I've always wanted a baritone. This can be my new main guitar. So I've been playing this for that long, honestly, maybe 8 months.
It's a very nice colour.
Yeah, Antigua Burst, that's probably my favourite thing about it as well, honestly, is the colour. But yeah, I thought about maybe replacing the pickguard with something a little bit more creative, but I don't know, I think it already looks so good, there's probably not much point.
Okay. So now moving on to pedals.
My pedal board is also just really simple. I don't have any crazy effects or interesting modulation or anything. It's literally just tuner into drive, into another just drive for variety, another drive for variety, a delay and a reverb. That's literally it. I occasionally have an octave pedal on here. This OCD is what I use as my main kind of workhorse distortion. It's the one that gets the most use. When I swap to Zach, when Zach swaps to guitar as well, because when he swaps to guitar, he uses my gear and my guitar, so he has to play Barry Beza as well. So he uses the OCD as his main drive as well, and it's really nice because it's a very natural drive. It's very transparent. It's very the variety that you can get from it, I feel like, is huge as well. So he's able to play it with a really low gain, and I'm able to play it with slightly higher gain, and our tone's still distinct, which is nice. This is an HM2 clone, which I use for some of the brand new stuff.
Boss HM2?
Yeah, Boss HM2, yeah. Made by Pepper's Pedals, a guy down in Dunedin. He makes really cheap, really amazing quality gear. I think clones mostly. I'm not sure if he does original stuff. He might do combos of existing pedals into new chassis, but this is set with the only way that you're supposed to have the EQ set on a HM2, which is low and high on full, and distortion on full. It's the only way to make an HM2 sound like an HM2. The delay, I really underuse it, honestly. This is an insanely meaty delay pedal. You can really do a lot with a Nova delay in terms of presets and preloading it and stuff, and I've just never really done it. Everyone in the band has one of these. We thought, especially in the early days when the stuff was really spacious and textural and blown out and just all about the big wide world sound, we thought it was important that we had a consistency across the way we did that, and these Novas sound really big in a way that a lot of other pedals. We played around with DL4s for a while as well, and they're cool for the looping function, but they sound a bit crunchy. That your repeats start to thin out very quickly, which is cool if you want that as a tonal thing, but if you want the wall of sound, I think the transparency is more important, which is why we went for the Novas.
So that's a very clean digital sounding delay?
Yeah, it is. It's got sims in it as well. Honestly, when I have it set, I normally have it set to full tape with mod level full, which just gets the repeats starting to warp and shift and tone a little bit more. Not as nice as you would with a proper analog or a proper tape, but I like the modulation. It's better than not having it. Generally, my guitar parts in the band, my role is sort of flavour and additional shit anyway, so it makes sense if my tone's the weirdest with respect to the delay repeats at least.
Now, do you find that when you're in a lower tuning, you have to be more careful with your drive settings?
Sort of. I find, because the thing that happens with the low tuning is you sort of have to work on your dynamics of your playing, I find a lot more. So if you play too aggressively, you can really get that kind of bow sound as the string gets sort of floppy and flappy, and you don't get that kind of fidelity. And I feel like when that happens, it can really sound fucked through higher gain stuff. But I haven't really found it to be too much of an issue, honestly. Like, especially with the pickups and that, they're really transparent, they're just passive, whatever they are, some kind of single coil P90 something.
Yeah, because I'm wondering if the baritone makes a difference too, because a lot of people, including myself, find that, I don't use a lot of gain anyway, but I especially don't want to use a lot of gain when I tune down, because it sounds flabby and fast. For sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, that's the thing, it doesn't sound that way with the baritone, because the baritone's built to handle it. You know, it only sounds flabby and fushy and, flubby and farty because you're using an instrument and you're kind of misusing the instrument, which is cool. That a lot of the time that can sound really, really, really cool, and I like the sound of an instrument with passive pickups struggling to cope with low tuning. That sounds much cooler to me than like something active and high gain that can just do it all with the most perfect precision. It's less cool, but there's definitely a point where you lose the coolness and it just like shit in a cool way, or I don't think it's so fun.
Rolling. So here's your guitar.
Here's my guitar. Yeah. So this is not actually my guitar. This is Ben's guitar. But I've been using this guitar virtually since he got it. I have a Fender Jaguar as well, and also a Gretsch electromatic baritone, but neither of those I use in the band. This is this thing I've been using in Spook The Horses since Rainmaker, and it's got a lot of top end and it's really hard to control, so it's perfect. Because I do all the ambient textural delay bullshit over the top of everything. So this kind of has the high end that is necessary to like cut through songs that have 3 guitars and bass in them. It's a Fender Stratocaster. I think it's American made. It says American made. It says made in USA, but sometimes it says that, and you actually have to look up the serial number, and then it's not. But I looked up the serial number, and I'm pretty sure it said it was made in the USA. But anyway, Ben bought it for like $500 off his friend's brother, and he got in there, gave him the cash, took the guitar and drove off the fuck back home before the guy even knew what was happening, which is a good move on his part. So if anyone ever offers you a Stratocaster for $500, you take it and don't look back. You steal and run. You steal big money if you have to. So this needs a good clean and probably a good resetup, but it's been doing great. We tune in drop B or C sharp standard alternatively. And despite it being a shorter scale than like a lot of guitars, it is obviously fixed neck. It holds this low tuning fairly well. I find if I'm playing on a guitar that has too tight action on real low tuning, it feels weird and bad. So it's nice to have this real loose shit going on.
What gauge strings are you using?
I use 5212 with a wound fourth.
Yep.
Diodario heavy. Heavy jazz ones,
heavy
what are they
jazz,
called? Jazz XL. That's the one.
Is that because of the low tuning?
That's because of the low tuning, yeah. I like to use fairly thick ones as well, and I like to use the wound fourth because we do a lot of octave chords on the second string there. So it kind of, I'm
fifth string.
Fifth string, that's the one. I don't know how to play guitar, so I'm kind of learning all this stuff on the fly. So we do all kind of octave chords on that, so it gives it that nice consistency to it. But yeah, that's kind of everything about Aerosmith's guitar.
Cool. What do you think about single coils down low? I mean, they can sound pretty cool.
Single coils down low, for me, are great because it provides a lot of responsiveness and a lot of noise. I get a lot of that hum and kind of like grubbiness to it that you don't get with humbuckers. You know, it cancels out. It kind of like makes. I find playing on guitars that have humbuckers in them in this band now have a bit too much cleanness to it. Is not as much like just raw like bullshit you're trying to restrain with you know, reverb and volume pedals and that kind of thing. But yeah, I think especially all of these, I think these are all the stock Fender single coils. I don't know what they put in them, but that's what's been in there the whole time, and I mostly use bridge to cut through everything basically. Yeah. Basically everything here is just to make it really, really fucking loud and then try and elongate and rein that in.
Right.
So it's just like a Any Ball VP Junior volume pedal, which I used to use like volume, just guitar volume knob for like swelling and a lot of that stuff, but that's obviously can be quite restrictive a lot of the time. And I got this thing a couple of years ago. I was like, holy fuck, what have I been doing my entire life? I'm such a stupid dumbass for not.
So you never tried to use your volume knob?
I know I did use my volume knob for like swelling and stuff in the past, but that's,
Yeah.
you know, once I started using this, I realized how restrictive and really hard to do that is. And I see like but some people get used to that and that's the style of doing it and that's real cool, but like for me, that this is the natural style of kind of like controlling volume swells and controlling guitar dynamic and that kind of thing, because it's the raw signal coming from the guitar. I don't know, I like the envelope of a volume pedal controlling the full signal of the guitar rather than bleeding off and on the signal from the pickup coming out of the guitar, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because volume knobs do that. They make it bassier.
Yeah.
Yes, and despite all your rage, you're still just a Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, so this, I don't know what frame that is from. Nicolas Cage doing something weird. I got that from my ex's brother's wedding years and years ago, and I put that on it, and it stayed there ever since. So our Lord and Saviour keeps us safe throughout all our shows. That's tuner.
Yep.
This is Doc Ock. That's the Octaver. I mostly actually use this as a drive pedal because the OC3 has a drive setting that you can bleed octaves into, but you can also just turn the octave off, put the wet signal to full, dry signal to full, octave off, and then just use it as like a really weird, cool fuzz pedal.
Right.
Downside of that is that it has a real bad signal cut when you turn it on. But if you're switching it between like big sections of songs and stuff, it doesn't matter too much. Next is the overdrive. This is actually a DoD preamp that I had our friend Richard Claughton, who also made my amplifier. I used a pedal of his while we were recording our second album. It was like a Holden overdrive pedal, and it was the most beautiful thing I've ever heard in my life. And I was like, can you get me one of those? And he's like, no, but if you buy one of these and send it to me, I can mod it so it kind of sounds like that. Okay, so I did that and sent it to him, and he sent it back and did blessedly switched out the 9-volt power supply from being on the side, because any pedal manufactured Satan.
So many of them do
that. I know, I don't understand it. Standardise, please.
Looking at you,
please standardise this. So this is basically just like the gain and grit of everything. Like I have this on most of the time.
So are you using it as a booster, basically?
I'm using this as a kind of like almost like an amp sim. Like I am not amp simulation, but I'm using it as the basis of my kind of signal. I have the fuzz before this because sometimes when I use the fuzz as an octaver, you want that before everything, obviously, so it actually tracks. It doesn't sound like shit. So I have this on most of the time, and then also most of the time I have the Rat on.
Yes. Now let's talk about Rats, because I feel like Rats are one of the most misunderstood poor little pedals in the world.
Yeah, so I have the Rat on during like most of our heavy songs, like most heavy riffs, and parts where it's like obviously like stripped back a little bit, it's off. But like this thing, I don't have the money to be able to like shop around a whole bunch of different distortion pedals and like pick and choose nice boutique shit, which I'm really glad for this thing because it just fucking does it. This is actually Alex, our bassist's. None of us own the gear of any of the gear that we use. We all just kind of borrow gear from each other. But I think this got modded with a different power supply as well. And
Oh yes, and viewers take note, I use a Rat too, and this is, my opinion, the correct way to set it up.
Open filter.
Open filter, distortion up high, volume up high and distortion not up too high.
Yep.
Because the thing about Rats is they're dirty, nasty little fuckers that need to be chained down a little bit.
Yeah, she's absolutely right. And then, so after all the tone stack comes down to you see a lot of these in our band. We all have Nova delays. I got this thing, I think I joined the band and Ben already had one and I used it once. I was like, I need one of these, so I bought one, and I've never used another delay pedal. That's actually that's a lie. I have a DL4 as well, but I don't use that in Spook The Horses. But this thing does everything I need it to. It's a great digital delay. It does pretty good tape modulation, simulation. Do weird shit like it goes out stereo. You can do like reverse ping pong, pan, slap back.
Yeah,
Bunch of different mod styles
Colin was
and
talking
shit.
a bit about this versus the DL4. What's your thoughts on that?
I think they're for two completely different things. DL4 is a thing that you use for texture and tone, and you use it as obviously like the standards like a looper, like a delay looper, or you use it for kind of more low-key types of delay, and it has a very specific tone to its modulation. This does heaps of different shit. So Callum and I play in a drone band called Hum Sufferer, and there was a point in one of our practices where I was feeding some shit into this, and of course if you put the feedback level past 100 on this, the signal starts feeding back on itself and it starts generating more and more gain.
Yeah.
And I was doing that, and I was messing with the mod level, which modulates some part of the frequency that was producing tone, a tone, like a signal all on its own, and I was able to get different chromatic tones out of just tweaking the mod thing and keeping the signal on the feedback loop alive. So this thing, and I couldn't never recreate that afterwards. So this thing is a bizarre beast that I only kind of half understand.
Yeah.
But like it's got like a bank of like 9 presets. It's got you can subdivide the delay times into a whole bunch of shit. You can use manual mode. You can have all the different presets. You can have either use the global tempo, or you can use specific tempos for each of the presets on the pedal. It's like
This is really handy too.
yes.
Subdivisions.
Yes, so this is it shows the kind of like quavers and semi-quavers and stuff for like the subdivisions of what the delay is doing and the type of delay. So you've got your delay dynamic, which I think is similar to kind of dynamic reverb in that you play harder and the wet signal comes back. The less the dry signal is, the more the wet signal is. There's reverse, obviously that the delay signal is reversed. I use that in some songs. As a kind of like a texture thing, like a kind of like Johnny Greenwood kind of twinkly thing. Ping pong, pan, and slapback. I know what the fuck they sound like because I've only used this thing in stereo like 2 times.
Yeah.
Loop station.
Yep.
I have all of these saved up with shit. Mostly this is just used for like things in between songs during the set. There's one song I think where I use a pad underneath everything, but most of this is just like in the capacity of Spook The Horses. This is just like things between sets.
So it's all like just a little tape.
Yeah, this is basically my like a version of plugging my iPod in and pressing play, but in a The fun thing is, sometimes the guide button will knock up a little bit, and then when you press stop on this, it starts the guide drums through the amplifier. So you're trying to do a big dramatic stop live, and then you press that button, and it goes dunce, kuts, dunce, kuts, dunce, kuts, and you feel like a fucking idiot. So make sure that's off. And then this is a reverb pedal. It's a Boost RVB. I think Callum has one of these as well, but it's broken. It's why this still has tape on it. I bought it from a guy that liked to cover up all his brands on all his pedals.
So what brand is it? Because I'm sure
it is
Boost RVT.
What brand?
Oh,
Boost
there
RVB?
it is. Now I can see it.
Tectonics?
Tech
21, sorry.
Yes.
Tech 21 Boost RVB. This is great. It's got a real specific tone to it, but I really like the tone of reverb it is. The filter suite, or the frequency suite rather, on the tone is like quite wide. Like it can like be really just like cut all the high end off, or it can cut all the low end off. You can get quite big like trail times on it. And then there's feedback is pre-delay, mix is obviously mix level. Rumble, I think, is a sort of low boost. I haven't quite worked out what Rumble does specifically, but if I put it up too much, everything starts feeding back. So
maybe it's sort of like how, like in real echo in a cave or some shit, like it starts to get a low end.
Yeah, I think it's kind of simulating that kind of thing. And then the great thing about this as well is that it has a level boost if you turn it on. So like post everything, it also has like
a boost,
some ridiculous amount of clean boost. I only ever put it up to here, so like anything past here is boosting the signal of it. So like when you turn reverb on, it gets a big like cut. That's really cool.
It's actually not that unusual though, because you know the original Space Echo tape delays, they used to make them, people used to use them as a boost, not as a delay.
True.
Yeah.
This is not quite that adventurous, but it does the job. And then this last thing is technically a tremolo pedal, but embarrassingly, I just use it as a kill switch. I turn everything off, and then this just kills the chain. Yeah. So I don't have to kill all my effects when I want to tune at the start of the chain, and then there's no way. If my reverb is at the end, there's no way to kill the signal if I need to in a hurry. So sometimes in some songs, I don't think there's any songs anymore that I use a tremolo. This was made by Callum. Who made a tremolo pedal?
That might be another Richard Corton one.
No, it's.
No, the white one was the Richard Corton one.
It's not.
It's on Pensport.
Wellington Cuzzy.
Not Hart.
Jeremy Nolan.
Jeremy Nolan. I'm so sorry, Jeremy. I love you so much. I really miss you.
Nolan.
So, yeah, Jeremy Nolan made this. I swapped it in for a Boss G7, I think, which in retrospect I regret doing, but I don't regret getting this pedal because it's a really nice little tremolo. And yeah, that's all my effects pedals. We literally just needed a synthesizer in the band, and I didn't have a lot of money, so I bought a Korg Micro Korg XL, and this has a whole bunch of really nice presets on it which you can futz with. So it has like whatever those numbers times each other with two A and B banks are. Got a nice little 3-octave keyboard. It's technically velocity sensitive, but it seems to be like really light or really heavy if you smack the shit out of it. I haven't really gone down the rabbit hole of like half the shit this thing can do, because there's a space that comes with a vocoder microphone. I don't do a lot of vocoder in this band.
Have you tried the Sawtooth synth bass on it? Because I used to have one of these.
Yes, I have. It's really good. I used 2 patches in this whole band for it. But,
which ones do you use?
I forget. I named them different things. I think initially it was called Warm Pad and something else. Warm Pad and Light. I think it's coincidentally they're both on the hip hop program genre, the program category of strings/pads. So yeah, this is cheap and dirty. Like
of course,
you need
good.
Cheap and dirty, but like again, It's tiny. This fits in my duffel bag when I get on the plane, so I don't have to have 3 bits of checked luggage, you know. And small and cheap means go on tour, basically, or bring it on tour at least. But you can actually do a surprising amount to the patches. You can fully mess. It's digital simulation, but you can mess with the all the usual shear resonance cutoff and attack and decay and release and all that stuff, and it has onboard effects and you can mess with those pretty fully. So I kind of mess with the sounds to make them our own a little bit. It's very good for just kind of like messing around and getting our sound down. And then when we go into the studio and put down synth sounds, for the most part we all use all the nice expensive synths that James has in the studio instead of this thing, and just use this as a MIDI controller. But yeah, that's a synthesizer.
So what do we got here?
Hello, I'm Ben. I play in Spook The Horses. This is a Gibson Les Paul Custom, 1981. I bought this from...
It's a real Gibson.
I bought it from a bassist that used to play in Spook years ago. Yeah, it plays great. Sounds great. It's heavy as hell. Recently got it refretted by Rob Matthews, and he did a great job. It's a beast.
Oh.
Yeah.
Stock pickups?
Yeah.
Stock pickups, stock everything. But it's a very nice colour.
Yeah. Apart from like obviously like the speed knobs and shit, they're all they used to be like a creamy colour, like this colour here. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I love it.
Cool. Okay, so here's the gear.
Yeah, it's pretty, nothing too special about it really. It's all pretty basic stuff. Starting with runs into the octave 2, which I only use for like 1 or 2 songs in like a new album that we're using. I've never used this before, but yeah, it's great. And that runs into the OCD, my favourite overdrive pedal, distortion pedal. I always sort of try other distortion overdrives, but I always come back to this. Nothing to me sounds as good.
What is it you like about it?
It's just so dynamic, yeah. And
Yeah?
it doesn't squash the sound or anything. Just that it's so clean. Yeah, so I like it. So tidy sound. Thank you. And then that goes into. I think that runs into my DS1. This is a Keeley modded DS1.
Okay.
Yeah, I bought it off a guy and it didn't work, so I sent it to Jeremy Nolan.
Jeremy Nolan.
Jeremy Nolan, man.
I should actually do an interview with the
You
guy.
should, yeah.
Because he's popping up on these every single time.
Everyone should put their pedals down, and Jeremy should just do it.
Yeah. I kid you not, every one of these I do, somebody has a Jeremy Nolan pedal.
Yeah, we're not done with Jeremy on this board yet.
Oh, right.
It's. I also got this for the album that we haven't released yet. Just something for a bit more drive, a bit more distortion. But it's kind of hard. Like we use it in that space, but like when you come to a live situation, I kind of like don't use it for as much as I do. Like in jam space, it's hard to get it sounding good with this. It's too much of a contrast whenever I change between them.
Right. Do you find that, because a lot of people find they want to back off the distortion a bit live?
Definitely, yeah. I've with all my overdrives, distortions, or both of them, I pull them right down live. Yeah. So I don't really have much to say about that. Still sort of like working it in. And that runs into, I think that runs into the Ernie Ball volume pedal.
Yep. So using that for volume swells?
Yeah, just volume swells and just cuts and like just I don't know. It's quite new, so I'm sort of like figuring out like places to use it in older songs and new songs and stuff. I love it though. I had a Morley before this and it sucked. It was so shit. It was just like off on. Whereas this has this like this beautiful glide to it.
Has a gradient to it.
Yeah, it's amazing. And then that goes from that to the Nova Delay.
Yep, and we've covered this.
Yeah, you probably covered this heaps with Spook anyway, or other bands as well.
Yeah, so all three of you use this.
Yeah, we got them so long ago, man. It's still like way more than the ore levels, but it's got a tap tempo. I still wouldn't go with anything else at the stage. I mean, I'm not that much of a gear nerd. I'm just so comfortable with it, and I know how it works. And into a Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame. Now these are good.
Yeah.
So you're using the church setting?
Yeah. I usually I used to, when I first got it, I mucked around with a lot of the settings and stuff, but then I just get lazy. Yeah, that's really good. I'm actually going to sell that soon, and I might jump on the Strymon bus.
Oh no, not the Strymon.
I don't know, like James had one in the studio, and it was just so incredible, you know.
I know.
So that probably will eventually happen.
Yeah, well then you'll have Opium Meter making fun of you.
Fuck Opium. Craig's a dick anyway.
Yes.
From that into Jeremy Nolan. Trim. I think I swapped this with Callum for this. This is actually Callum's, yeah. So I had that, and I swapped him for that, and then I took that back. So yeah, that's a Nolan trim. That's great. And then just into a tuner. Yeah.
Yep, the same tuner, but it doesn't have the test cage on this one.
No, not this one. No.
No.
Yeah. And that's it.